Let me take you guys back to the time of 1997 to 2008. I just want to say right now, these two eras I'm talking about in this video are without a doubt the greatest eras in WWE history. Now, you guys probably already know what eras I'm talking about. You guys know that these eras really did mean a lot, and they really did change the WWE for what they were. Sometimes we tend to forget how good we really had it back then. So let's talk about the Attitude Era. This era is without a doubt, in everybody's mind, the greatest era in all of WWE history. Now, while I will admit I grew up with the Ruthless Aggression Era, this era cannot be denied for how good it really was. I mean, we got to see all these iconic stars. We had Stone Cold, Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Undertaker, Kane, Big Show, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Chyna, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, the Hardys. I can keep going on in terms of the roster, but these guys actually felt like they really were guys that actually got in the ring, settled their beef with each other, and did not like each other at all. These guys literally made the shows feel like you were watching something serious. Let's talk about the Monday Night Wars. The Monday Night Wars were so insane because of just like which show was fighting to basically keep you entertained. Had them competing with Monday Night Football. If Stone Cold wasn't there and the WWF, then WCW probably would have had a good advantage over the WWF. But yeah, and then just of course, like the storylines were really fun to watch. It was so over the top. The entire action itself was better. They actually felt like it was legit personal between some of them. And honestly, the storylines were just more fun in general. I mean, does anybody remember that time when Stone Cold was the COO of WWE for a day? And he just basically was in charge of the company, and he would go in board meetings and throw beers to the board, and he would just be drinking beer and everything. It just was so fun to watch. Anybody could cut a promo back then, and you actually would believe what they were saying. Nowadays, everything's so like lifeless and soulless, and it just doesn't have that same feel like these guys really brought. Literally, this era felt like the titles mattered. Everybody wanted to be at the top of this era. I could go on all day talking about the Attitude Era. Realistically, I could. This video would probably be way longer than it really is. But I just wanted to ask you guys, like, the ones who grew up with the Attitude Era, what was it like growing up watching this show live? Because I really wish I was alive and born to see it during this time. Okay, so now let's talk about the Ruthless Aggression Era. In my eyes, this is the greatest era in WWE history. I love the Attitude Era, do not get me wrong, but this era is literally what I grew up off of. Let's talk about the star power. They still had amazing star power. And yeah, Stone Cold and The Rock were leaving. Okay, well, now we got to get some new faces in. WWE knew they needed to get some new faces in. And it all started when Vince just was standing around and asked everybody who has ruthless aggression. And that's what started the Ruthless Aggression Era. John Cena, Batista, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio. Like, that's when they had some real talent. Edge actually became a big deal. Went from being a tag team partner to becoming one of the most iconic heels in the history. Again, the titles felt like they still mattered in the Ruthless Aggression Era. And do you guys remember when they used to have like Raw guys be on Raw and SmackDown guys be on SmackDown? Because seeing how all these guys were on each show, represented their respective brands and whatnot, it really was cool. You already knew that whenever a SmackDown guy showed up to Raw one day, you already knew something was about to go down for the simple fact that it was pretty much like a forbidden rule for somebody to go on a different show and actually just be there. Like, it just felt fun to watch. And then that reminds me, speaking of SmackDown and Raw, the SmackDown versus Raw games. Now, I know I kind of didn't talk about No Mercy for the Attitude Era, but I will have never played that game, so I'm not gonna just sit here and talk about it. As we had the SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, arguably the greatest wrestling game in all of history, and in my opinion, it's one of my favorite games of all time. The matches actually used to feel like they mattered, you know? If there was somebody who had a vendetta with somebody, they would take them into a Hell in a Cell match and they would settle their beef in the Hell in the Cell. Or just the fact that, you know, some of the matches actually fit it with the storyline. For example, when John Cena and JBL had their I Quit match, it kind of went well with the story. Or the Money in the Bank match from WrestleMania. It was to just show us what everybody's talents were in the WWE. It's not just a yearly thing where they do in every June and July. The Elimination Chamber was also added into the WWE this year, and that really made it fun to watch. It really shook things up to see 6 guys in an Elimination Chamber, and it just really was seen like something completely that we've never seen before. Again, the storylines were more fun, the characters were better, and the promos actually still mattered. You know, Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era promos, they felt like you could feel what the wrestler was saying. Nowadays, today's WWE, it feels like everything is either really slow, nothing happens, or you just don't have good stars in general. Back then, you felt like you couldn't miss a Raw or a SmackDown. In either era, Attitude or Ruthless Aggression Era. Back then, it just felt like everything was important. It feels like it just lost that magic that really happened. And that's why I feel like I consider the Ruthless Aggression Era to be the end in 2008. Now, sure, don't get me wrong, I did enjoy WWE from 09 and 2010 and 11 and 12, but it just did not have that same feel. And for a lot of people, they do consider these to be the greatest eras in history, and I am one of those people. A lot of people consider the Attitude Era to be the true end of WWE once that ended. And honestly, I don't blame them, because for those people, that's what they would talk about at work some days. That's what they would talk about at school some days. It's kind of just like seeing how the MCU is, honestly. The MCU from phase 1 to phase 3 is what everybody considers the greatest in Marvel history. And once Endgame ended, the hype just kind of died down with Marvel movies. Let's talk about the commentary team. They're actually telling us good matches and what was happening. It almost felt like they were your friends. Now, my favorite commentary team was JR and Jerry the King Lawler. Everybody knows exactly what these guys were like. And of course, Jim Ross, he had some iconic lines on commentary. The audience was hyped, and anytime somebody big and important came out, the audience would cheer him or boo him heavily. Nowadays, some of these guys can't even get half of that pop as to what these guys were getting back then. I love these 2 eras. These 2 eras are, in my opinion, the greatest eras in all of WWE history. But let me know, what do you guys think about the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era? What was your guys' favorite moments or favorite memories with us? Please comment down below. I'd really love to hear it. Anyway, that's all I really have to say. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!